Why would you ever allow a child to do that? And why would you go to a child to issue an invitation to participate in an investigation to me by walking outside and stopping his eye on me for 3 seconds as I'm sitting in my vehicle? Why would you do that? Why would you believe that that child could do that? Why would you give that child, even if he is a teenager in high school, why would you give that child those types of issues to think about? Really? Why would you give that child the problems of an adult to become involved in? Unless you want to sit there and pander to that child. And I do mean pander. Hold his hand and tell him and treat him like an adult and tell him to use him and stage his behavior like that. I mean, yesterday when Jake walked into the library, he was standing on the side of the vending machines over there, and he ran out in front of Jacob, who's just standing over there, and ran outside. I would get up from the reference computer table. As soon as I did, he'd pop up and walk right in front of me. I've never given him permission to participate in any investigation about me and my son. He has zero contact with me and my son. He doesn't supervise Jake. He doesn't tell Jake where to go on the computer. He doesn't navigate Jake's web pages. He's never done any of that, okay? But telling him to do stuff like that, what the problem is that Jake and I don't have any contact with him. So what he was doing is basically placing himself, just following me and Jake around the library, so that it would appear that he's in proximity to me and Jake, and that he got permission from me and Jake. And there's the donkey now. He just walked out into the vending machine area, punching the air with his fist. Now there he is. Now this is something he's done too. He's walking out punching the air. There he is. I'm looking to the left at this white van parked on the left of me. Security guard sitting there on the bench. She was in her cell. Oh, look. What do you know? Barbara just walked out of the library, too. Isn't that funny? She walked into the library when he was out in the circle drive as well. And he just walked out all the way out there, and then Barbara walked out. Now he's turning around. All he did was count the change in his pocket. And now he's turning around and walking back into the library. Hello? Can you say, give me a break? And there's a whole horde of them in there. A bunch of them that were standing over by the vending machines just walked out behind him. There was another day when Jake and I were leaving the library. It was on a Sunday, I think. He was over by the snow cone stand over there, and there's a brick wall over there. He was bent over at the waist, leaning his arms on the brick wall. Looked like he was posing to be a macho guy. I do not have any sexual interest in children. I'm very attracted to Matthew because he's a sexy guy. He's 29 years old, and he seems childish to me. Because of my experience, I've dated older men, and Matthew doesn't quite have the maturity. There goes Barbara. TKY 332, Gray Mirage with a fin on the trunk. Tell me he's not babysitting her. I think I've spoken to her 2 or 3 times in the 2 years that I've seen her come to this library. Just in passing. Went over to her one night because she was just driving really, really slowly in the parking lot. And then she finally parked. And then she slumped over in her driver's seat with her eyes closed. And I went over to her and knocked on her driver's door window and said, "Are you okay?" She immediately started her vehicle and pulled it out of her parking space without responding to me at all. And then idled in the lane that you drive in behind the rows of cars and stopped. I was on foot. So I've dated guys that really could punch. My boyfriend in college was a bouncer and a sheriff's deputy. Built like a brick house, and I mean he was a big guy too. He was a little chunky, but I mean, so this little boy coming out here playing these little games like he wants to present himself as some type of macho. Look at, how tough I am. No, sweetheart. You're a baby. But it's wrong, in my opinion, for anybody to include that child, even though he's probably in high school now. He's not grown. He walked out of the library ahead of Barbara. He walked there to the front of that plant. Started counting change in his pocket, and Barbara exited that circle drive over there. And he turned around and ran back in the library, and you can see that he's got this fearlessness. And he's got all these groups of kids around him now. He used to be a loner, him and his friends. I've caught him 2 or 3 times videotaping me. So I just think that's tragic. It really makes me sick. It makes me angry because he is a child. He doesn't have my responsibility to take care of my son, and he doesn't have any business testifying falsely, no less, to say that he has any contact with me or my son. He's never invited me to testify. He's never informed me of any type of monitoring. He's never gotten my consent to it. Nobody else has either. But that's tragic. That's tragic. That is a pedophile with a badge to do something like that and include a child. How do you know he's telling the truth? He's walking outside, punching the air. Gee, is it any stretch of the imagination to think he actually did assault and batter that teacher he was arrested for beating up at Broadmoor? And that's what they'll do. They'll hang out in the foyer and they'll run back and forth. And he's actually running the last 2 or 3 days. Running. And it infuriates me. It does. And it should outrage all parents. And it should outrage any police officer to see a child involved in that type of activity. And so the child is a police officer.